The future of all marketing is going to be who's the best storyteller, and who does it authentically will win the game. I truly believe it's the future of all marketing is who is the best storyteller. That's the person or group that's going to win. If you're not going to do that, you are going to lose the game of marketing.
Karls is the co-founder and Chief Rainmaker of Midday Squares. He's the modern-day Willy Wonka, redefining the chocolate industry.
Businesses are a pressure cooker. The odds are stacked tremendously against entrepreneurs. You're not supposed to win. If you just look at the data, you're supposed to fail. The last 6 years have been anything but easy, anything but just good times.
Chocolate is a $140 billion industry. Why enter such a competitive and saturated market?
We built this product knowing that dark chocolate was growing year over year and that plant-based proteins were growing year over year. We were making the baby. We knew that both those saturated markets were having growth.
What is that feeling that you're trying to evoke from Midday?
You can win by being bold. You win by being you. If you're going to build a business today, or you're going to build a personal brand, or you're going to make a friendship with somebody, you need to make them feel something deeply inside. If you're not, you have no chance. Sam Walton built Walmart, one of the greatest retailers of our time. He showed up store to store. He went to go meet his staff. He went to go show up to meet his customers, see them. If you're going to build a business today, get off your ass and go meet people in person. We are craving human connection more than ever. Now's the time. We have a tremendous amount of organic. We get, last year I think it was over 50 million views organically on our platforms.
How do you tell such great fucking stories at scale?
It doesn't have to be so complex or so strategic. It could just be like, what's on the top of your mind? How do you feel from it? And if it evokes an emotion, let it out.
What does the future of Midday Squares look like as you continue to grow and scale to being a $100 million business?
Whether Midday Squares goes to $1 billion or
Karls, what's going on, my man?
Dude, we're on a rock star date today. There's momentum, exhaustion definitely, but just came off doing another podcast and then teaching a class for an hour or so at UCAM University, and now I'm with you, and I'm fired up to be here because I know we've connected over time, and I've always liked your ambition. I've always liked your curiosity, and I think that that's where I want to surround myself with in life is people that are curious and ambitious, and I'm excited for this conversation because I think we're going to get a little deep.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I'm fired up. I've been following your journey for a long time. I think Midday Squares is absolutely fucking killing it right now, and I think you're redefining the way that brands connect with their audiences through storytelling. And in this episode, I want to break down how you're changing the game and how anyone listening to this can take lessons from Midday and from your storytelling to become a better storyteller.
Yeah, I think the future of all marketing is going to be who's the best storyteller, and who does it authentically will win the game. In the end, it's not about the features and benefits and promoting that as a product. Today you need to emotionally connect. And if you're not going to emotionally connect in whatever you're selling, whether it's chocolate bars like we do or a plumbing company, you have to have some sort of emotionality and relatability and trust be built. And the way to do it is utilize storytelling. And it's not something new, by the way, Rory. This is an old trick. But for some reason, brands have forgotten to tell the story. We've gotten so caught up in saying, hey, this is a great chocolate bar. It's got 6 grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber, good fats, clean ingredients, non-GMO, this, that. You and I, at the end of the day, you hear that and eventually get tired. You get bored. It matters, like to consume the product. It does matter to have that. But at the end of the day, I need something more than that. I need to turn this out of a commodity into something emotional. And the only way to do it, in my opinion, is to tell an authentic story. And I'm excited to get into this because I truly believe it's the future of all marketing is who is the best storyteller. That's the person or group that's going to win.
100%. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. And attention sells. Attention is the finest currency in this day and age.
Most valuable in the world. And if you disagree, if whoever disagrees with that needs to get a reality check. And I say this not out of disrespect, but with the idea that we are on our phones as a society, on social media platforms daily. And we just are looking for connectivity. We're craving storytelling. We're craving being part of something. So why are you not, as a business, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying generally everyone, why are businesses not trying to enter that phase? You're not going to enter it by paying to promote your product. No one cares. They want something that adds value, entertains, or educates them. And if you're not going to do that, you are going to lose the game of marketing.
100%. I want to break down a little bit more the storytelling aspect further on. But first off, I want to go back a bit deeper and go into a little bit of the history of Midday. 6 years ago, you started the company with your sister Les and your brother-in-law Nick. What's that journey been like, that 6-year journey building a company? And what role has telling stories been in your growth along that?
It's been the hardest fucking thing in the world. Building a business, people see the sunshine, they see the capital potentially, they see the selling of a company, they see on TV, they see all the fun stuff. But rarely do you see how much pain, how much adversity, how much hardship goes into building any business, not just Midday Squares, but you want to launch a coffee company, you want to launch a plumbing company. There's a lot of hardships. The odds are stacked tremendously against entrepreneurs. You're not supposed to win. If you just look at the data, you're supposed to fail. And I say that with optimistic hope that if we continue to take risks, we will get better and we will have more successes over time. But the last 6 years have been anything but easy and um, anything but just good times. And I think that I didn't know this going in. I was naive at the time 6 years ago that it would be this hard, but I wouldn't have it any other way. As hard as it is, I don't have a gun to my head. I could step away today. I could leave after this podcast and quit the company. Yes, there'll be certain consequences, but at the end of the day, there's no gun to my head. I have a choice to be here. It is a privilege to be on an entrepreneurial journey, in my opinion, or any journey that you're living purposefully. If you're not living purposefully, then that's a whole different story. But I believe I am, and I believe I could wake up. I wake up every day feeling alive to take over. Whether Midday Squares goes to $1 billion or crashes, I live every day giving it my all, number one, and trying to live towards my purpose. And those two lead to an immense amount of freedom. Now, working with my sister and brother-in-law has been the greatest journey of my lifetime. And the reason I say this is, being with two people that are epic entrepreneurs and epic humans has allowed me to enjoy some of the greatest moments of business and some of the hardest moments of my life, to spend with them and experience it with them and to go through it with them. So to go through the earthquake or the roller coaster with people you love is incredible. Now, the only way that we have existed and continue to exist and thrive as a partnership is we do therapy every week together. We work together through therapy, hard conversations with a therapist to work on keeping this partnership together, both as a family, but also as a business. And without the therapy, I wouldn't be with you today in front of you, and I wouldn't have been part of Midday Squares because it's a pressure cooker, man. Businesses are a pressure cooker, and when money's involved, when pressure's involved, when you know things are on the line, relationships start to veer, they start to change. And so the 6 years I've been with them has been the greatest and most honorable, in my opinion, but some of the hardest moments as well.
Chocolate is a $140 billion industry. Why enter such a competitive and saturated market?
I love that question. It's unpopular opinion, but most people would choose to go into niche. They're like, oh, well, there's niche. It's less competitive. There's less people in the lake or the pond. I believe that when you go into saturation, like very competitive markets, you already have a customer base that already understands these products or these services. So there's less education required. Now, if you offer a better product, which you should, because product market fit is, again, the most important thing, but then you align that with a differentiation in storytelling or differentiation in brand building or connectivity, you start to get a real big chance at scale. Saturated markets allow you to really scale because they're already developed. There's already a customer. So when we launched Midday Squares, the chocolate bar, we were just a better for you chocolate bar. So it was literally a chocolate bar that has protein and fiber and good fats, keeps you full, makes you feel good, and that's it. There's no education required. It's chocolate bar that is healthier, cuts your cravings. It's easy. If I were to start putting all kinds of ingredients in there, all kinds of things, I have to educate you. I have to actually now to sell you, I have to get your attention, number one, which we agreed is the most valuable currency. The second thing is I have to actually educate you to teach you something new. That's crazy. That takes so much more effort and hard work. And a lot of the time, niches are trends. Niches are things. Saturation's been around. That means it's been around for a while. It's proven. So that's why we chose saturation. And again, data ran this company. We didn't just choose to put a product in the middle of sweet nothings. We built this product knowing that dark chocolate was growing year over year and that plant-based proteins were growing year over year. We were making the baby. We knew that both those saturated markets were having growth. So we knew that the product market fit would be there when we launched Midday Squares. Then it was on our case to say, how do we get this product to, I call it bars to bellies, as many people as we can, and that's through storytelling and telling sharing it on virtual and physical.
How important has that like authenticity and vulnerability been telling your story for starting out against these huge companies that have huge market share? How do you compete? How do you raise capital?
First of all, I actually like the big companies, and the reason why I like them is they built immense amounts. You got to give them credit. They built immense amount of infrastructure. So a company like Hershey's is a wildly sized business, and they've built a distribution arm that is incredible. They've built a manufacturing arm that is incredible. You don't get to billions of dollars of business with luck or there was strategy, there was skill. So I give them credit for what they've built. Now, do I think that they could do better in marketing? 100%. I think that they need to get more with the authenticity because that's where consumers today seem to be going. Is they want to emotionally connect. They want to emotionally, you know, they want to buy products based on not just commoditized things, but they want to base it on how do I relate? How am I part of this business? Do I even know more about it? And what that tells me is that we as humans more than ever are craving connectivity. And the way to do it is just to be authentic. We live in a world full of people that are inauthentic or brands that are so picture perfect. That's not relatable. You want to be relatable. You want to earn trust. Just be yourself. People will love you for you. You are different than me for many different reasons. Your DNA, but also the millions of experiences you have in your life. That's what makes us different. It's not the things we wear, really. It's not the jobs we have. We could probably get similar jobs. It's not how well you did in school. It's how you make people feel. It's the story you share. So why are we not doing that as businesses as well? Is what confuses me. So authenticity, I think, is the forefront of marketing, but also um, relationships and connectivity.
I think if you look at some of the world's best brands at storytelling, like Nike, for example, tells emotional, genuine stories, and they're pushing a feeling, not a product. What is that feeling that you're trying to evoke for Midday when you tell a story?
Boldness. We want to show people that you can win by being bold. You win by being you. Midday Squares is not taking the traditional path. We are doing things our way that we believe is the right way. We didn't follow the typical playbook. We're not polished necessarily. We swear sometimes, out of passion. It's not out of, hate or anything like that. And I think that that's what we want Midday Squares to continue to represent over time and get even bigger and bigger is, you can win by being you, but be a little bit more bold every day. Take a little bit more risks, and we are that edgy company that's doing that. And otherwise, we are just a great chocolate bar, right? And there's a lot of other great chocolate bars out there. So if you're going to build a business today, or you're going to build a personal brand, or you're going to make a friendship with somebody, you need to make them feel something deeply inside. If you're not, you have no chance.
I want to go back to when you first started the company and you were trying to frame your story. I know you're the underdog going against the big companies, and you've mentioned before you've taken inspiration from so many different places like Shark Tank, the Kardashians, the reality TV show storytelling, authenticity. How did you get inspired and start telling your story?
So yeah, 100%. So when we started Midday Squares, my sister and brother-in-law had an amazing product, and they came to me and they're like, let's blow this business up. We need you to be the one that makes noise. You're a great noise maker and a community builder. How are we going to do it? And I looked at them and I said, if we just look at the best storytellers, that's in Hollywood right now. And, they've been telling stories for, 100 years. And I looked at the best TV shows at the time from ratings, and I saw Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which is a great show, and the Kardashians are a great group. I also saw Shark Tank was growing and people were interested in entrepreneurship. So I just said to my partners, if we want to build community, let's take from them. Let's just learn. Let's take inspiration, like you said, and let's apply it to selling a product. But instead of selling a product, let's try to make them fans of the brand. And that way they'll want, when they see our product, they'll want to buy it out of case of support and want to be part of. And what I told them, I said, we're going to just document and film everything. That was day one. I said, we're going to take out our cameras. We have iPhones at the time. I said, we're going to share the raw, unfiltered version of what it looks like to build a business. Good, bad, ugly, share it all. Because what that shows is vulnerability. It shows what it looks like behind the scenes. And then it takes away the commodity and shows you this is more than just a great product. And I feel closer to that person. So when you go to the grocery store, where again, there's 40,000 products on a supermarket shelf, you now feel like you're buying from a friend. You feel like you're buying from a family member. So you don't just buy it. You love to see it. You get amped up. You're cheering us on. We acted like a boy and a girl band. We acted like the Spice Girls or Backstreet Boys, the three of us, but instead of selling records, we sell chocolate bars. We perform. We show up. We make noise. We build community. We tell a story. That's what the artists do. Same strategy, and we've been applying that since day one.
What's the danger of that though? Like a lot of Midday's growth has been from founder-led content. And I know last year you mentioned you experienced burnout. Recently, Les took a sabbatical, and it's a big strain creating content, telling your story time after time. It takes a lot to be vulnerable and keep telling your story. So, how do you manage longevity over time, telling your story as you scale Midday Squares?
So yeah, first of all, storytelling is it's a lot of work. It's not, you see things on social media and you think that these people, it looks so easy. It's not. They're putting a lot of effort and time into good content creation. It takes resources, people, uh, money at times. It's not easy. And then performance, right? So for us, yeah, we've been sharing that story, and it burnt me out last year because, you become almost like, we got to keep telling that story, showing a lot, then you're so involved. But we signed off at the beginning that we would go all in on storytelling and to build this business. And look, I think there's a balance there that you can do. And for us, we show a lot, and we could kind of, pull that back a little bit and go less of the extreme amounts of showing. But at the end of the day, like, look, we want to win really badly, in a healthy way, not in a unsustainable way, which we're learning now, with the two burnouts, my sister and myself. But we still got to lead the forefront of storytelling. Otherwise, we're going to fall behind. So for what we're doing is we're just trying to find a different rhythm right now to tell our story, instead of just being like, 24/7. It's more like, okay, what moments can we capture that are authentic that we could share? And that's been a lot better. But look, we want Midday Squares to represent something, not just be a founder-led content creation. So, the three of us are starting to take a step back and trying to show a little bit more of what this brand can represent over time. Again, boldness and risk-taking, but not just based on the three of our lives. What can we do it based on everybody? And that's a very hard mission, but we're slowly getting there. It takes time, and we're getting there step by step. And eventually, the business will run without us. It will run without us. We will be ambassadors of the business, and don't get me wrong, and the founders, the soul, and the vision. But it's not going to just be our faces. And I think that allows us to live a more sustainable life. Because at the end, why would this be worth it if we built this to $1 billion and then we hated each other as partners and we were miserable and depressed? Absolutely not. It's not worth it. What's worth it is we built something impactful and great and big, but we do it while feeling alive, feeling energized, and not burnt out and feeling depressed at times. Like, we want to feel energized, and yeah, we gotta figure our way, and it's gonna take time.
You mentioned therapy as well plays a big part in Midday Squares,
Mm-hmm.
and just keeping sanity as a founder. Um, I want to ask, like, do you think therapy has helped you flex that muscle to become a better storyteller and just understand your internal dialogue?
Yeah, therapy is the best investment we've made to date, and I say that confidently. It saved our partnership. It made me a better person, both at home with my wife, my family, my friends, but also as a great leader. And the more you communicate, the better you become as a communications, the stronger you become as a human. Having hard conversations, getting somewhere in the conversation, being more empathetic, perspective, all these things are really relevant through therapy. And at first I was opposed to it. I was the one that was opposed to it. I was like, I don't need therapy. I'm the happiest guy. But I was so wrong. I was so naive and immature at the time, 5.5 or 6 years ago. Now I'm a huge advocate for therapy. And, after this podcast, I'm actually going to therapy. I was there yesterday too, just to get better. It's not about, it's consistency and maintaining. And I think that to know that you're working on yourself is empowering, rather than weak. And I think people look at therapy still today, I don't know why, as means that you're lesser of. And that's the dumbest thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a big stigma around therapy, but I like the way you framed it before. Is like you're talking to a business coach. He's helping you come to decisions, and you're helping internalize your thought process, and that helps you tell better stories at the end of the day.
It helps tell a better story. It also helps you be a better leader. It helps you build something, you become more resilient. And Dr. James Gavin has been a lifesaver for Midday Squares, and from all three of us. And I can't explain how much value comes from it if you go in with an open mind to want to get better.
Building on this, I want to discuss a little bit um, conflict and turning obstacles into opportunities. I think there's no great story without conflict. And recently, I was watching a video from the creators of South Park, and they said when the words "and then" live between the beats of your story, you're fucked. You need conflict and causation. You need this happen, but this happened, therefore this happened. And I think that's something that Midday is excellent at doing.
Dude, when you storytell, it goes from status quo to something else. And if it stays at status quo, no one cares. So yeah, like we capture the drama, we capture the good and the bad. And when you give the opposites, it really gives people a full perspective on what's going on, and it will relate. But if I show just the good successes, milestones, celebrations, eventually you're gonna be like, I don't really care. But if I show you the drama, the hardships, then you start to say, wow, I empathize with this. I relate to this. I'm going through something similar. You become very close to us. And it becomes more than just selling a chocolate bar. It becomes, no, I am part of this community and I belong to it. And I think that the only way to do that is to show both sides. And without drama, you really don't have a great story, to be honest with you, because the drama changes the status quo to then lead to something brand new. And we've had we have drama every day, to be honest with you, and hardships every day. Literally, right before coming, there was something that happened at our office, and like again, that's drama. But we choose what to tell. Obviously, we don't want to tell only drama because then people like say, "Is this a pessimistic company?" You can't be a pessimist. You should be an optimist. The world's a great place. We're gonna win as a world. And if you be pessimistic, you could choose to pick out anything. But if you're an optimist, you at least see the glass half full. And again, drama and optimism will lead to greatness.
And that you can turn that drama and conflict and negativity and turn that into momentum. And that's something you can do.
Huge.
Yeah.
You could turn it into either negative momentum or positive momentum, and they both work as one of the human's greatest, most strenuous forces in the world. When you're on that positive momentum train, it goes up.
Yeah.
When you're on that negative, it goes down.
Yeah.
And it just keeps building. So, what I always tell people is don't think so big. Think small wins or small, if you otherwise small losses continue going, keep going. Eventually it can exponentially grow. And humans for some reason have a hard time realizing the force of what compounding actually is and how powerful it is. But once you realize that, one step forward every day leads to massive momentum growth. Massive.
Yeah. In 2021, you received a cease and desist letter from Hershey's, and in response, you created a diss track music video.
But we're friends with Hershey's. I love that business. I think that if you're gonna have a drama, and you have the ability to be a little bit more bold and a little bit more wild, if that's authentic to you, then do something. We again, there's always a story you could tell from a situation, and yeah, we made a music video. We had fun. We're a chocolate bar company. We made a music. We don't even know how to sing, but it got our consumers fired up just to be like, this company's wild and fun. And again, things are going to happen in your business, good or bad. You always got to look at them and be like, what can we tell from this? Is there something to share? Is there something not to share? And, you got to know when to share and when not to share as well, because some things are a little bit too much or some things are damaging for the brand. But like, a great example is like, we just launched Whole Foods nationwide in the US this week. And like, we're building up a story right now on not just saying, hey, we're available at Whole Foods. It's great. We announced that. But no, we're going to talk about the emotionality of how hard it took, how much no's we got till we got there, and how long it took to get in, and now the impact it's going to have on our business. Again, that's a story. It's not just like, hey, we got in today. No, we couldn't get in for a really long time. We couldn't get nationwide listing. It was almost impossible. But we never stopped fighting. And eventually someone believed and took us and said, let's do this. And I always say there's always a story, but it can't be neutral. You can't be neutral. And neutral is average, and no one wants average. Everyone wants good, bad. Yeah. And the perspective on the bad doesn't have to be negative. It could be something you learn. You go through a hardship, you fail, you get back up, and you become better. Yeah. And I think people just are scared to show everything because they're like, well, what if someone judges me for my negative? And it's like, it's not negative. That's what we got to take it out. A failure doesn't mean negative. And a failure doesn't mean that you've lost or you've become, a bad person or worse. A failure for me is some of the greatest privilege to go through, because when you fail at something, you do something that other people don't get to go through. And that's an experience you have. And it's up to you as a human or as a business in those moments to take it and learn from it, or to take that opportunity and win from that opportunity. Or you go the complete other way and say, I'm going to sulk and keep going down and down and down.
And I think it's so important to, like, when you're telling a story as well, if it doesn't make you feel something,
Do not share the story. So, two things. When you're going to share a story, whatever business you're in, number one, does it evoke an emotion? An emotion could be anger, sadness, inspiration, aspirational, happiness. Or if it doesn't, do not post it. The second thing that I use as a check mark is, do you like the content? Can you watch the full content without stopping or without, saying I can't stand this? And it shouldn't even be just average. It should be, it makes you feel something and you love it. And if you do, then release it. We've made countless amounts of content that we've never released because it evoked emotion, but we didn't love it. And you're not going to post content for the sake of posting content, because that actually turns your community away. The more average or mediocre content you give them, eventually they start to lose the trust. They start to lose the affinity towards the brand, and they start to go somewhere else. Because attention, as you said, is one of the most valuable assets. So give them something valuable. And so if you like it and it evokes an emotion, somebody else is going to like it in the world. At least one other person.
What does the system look like internally for your team creating content? Like, how do you tell such great fucking stories at scale?
James is our head content creator at Midday Squares. He is a rock star. So he looks at schedules, he looks at things that are going on, and he comes up with a storyline that he sees is happening. So let's say we're raising money, raising capital. He'll know that there's a story that's going to come from the build up to it, to getting the capital, to the rejection. So he'll start to create the stories. Or let's say he knows that, we have a huge meeting with, let's say he knows that we're having a huge meeting with a big retailer like Target. He'll tell a story of what Target means to us and all that stuff. So he's really guiding the stories. And also, like, here, keeping this in mind, you don't always have to plan. I'll get on the Instagram stories one day and just be like, hey, I'm about to go on a podcast. I'm downtown. I'm hanging. This is what I'm feeling. And it doesn't have to be so complex or so strategic. It could just be like, what's on the top of your mind? How do you feel from it? And if it evokes an emotion, let it out. And I think people are so concerned with return on investment that they get lost in content creation. I think you should focus less on return on investment or ROI. Focus on, how does it make someone feel, and does it evoke an emotion? I guarantee over time, if you stay consistent with that, you will give yourself a good chance at building community.
And you focus pretty heavily on purely organic. Like, there's not much paid going on in your budget
We
now.
do paid. We have some great influencers we partner with. We do some meta ads, things like that, and affiliates that are phenomenal. But at the end of the day, we have a tremendous amount of organic. We get, last year I think it was over 50 million views organically on our platforms. It's a lot of people. And then you have paid, so it adds up more. And look, if you're not good at organic, you're gonna have to spend money. If you're good at organic, you don't have to spend as much, but you could hybrid it in a really cool way. And at the end of the day, like, again, I said at the beginning of this podcast, the future of marketing is going to be who's the best storyteller. And it's something you could learn. You don't have to have it innate in you. I think that you could become, I used to not be a good storyteller. I was petrified of everything. I didn't share anything. I was so risk adverse. Then I learned to get a little better at storytelling every day, build the muscle. And now I'm very confident in the muscle. I don't do it perfect, but I see wins. So for me, at the end of the day, look, like, listening to this podcast, you should realize that the power of storytelling is incredible, but also the power of authenticity is incredible. And last but not least, in my opinion, like, it doesn't have to be so big that you go on your storytelling. You could do small little things and build that muscle every day to then grow it to a way stronger muscle down the line.
I think there's a big misconception that you need like a massive, incredible story, but there's daily stories around you every day, and the little actions and interactions that you have. And if you're always looking around for those stories, anyone can be a storyteller and keep flexing that muscle.
Yeah, look, you and I live life 24/7, right? You live yours, I live mine. I might find that my life's not that interesting because I live it 24/7. I experience it every day. And it's easy to tell yourself that and say, I don't want to share any of that because people might find it boring. I find it somewhat boring, but I don't live your life. I don't know your life. So I'm curious. As a human, we are naturally curious of new things or of different. We're craving connectivity, and we're curious creatures. I say creatures because we're these beautiful creatures. But I always tell people, you find your story boring because you live it 24/7, but somebody doesn't live your story. So share it, and share it loud and proud. What makes you different in the world is your DNA and your story, because you and I have experienced millions of different things, and that's what makes us unique. Not what we wear, not the grades we get, not the job we have, not the products that we're selling. It's the stories that you've experienced in your life what make you different than me and obviously your DNA.
And I think as well, just before the podcast, we had an interaction where we bumped into someone buying Midday Squares, and offline strategy I want to go into a little bit. Donald Trump just won the election from, a lot of offline campaigning. And you've mentioned in the past, you take a lot of inspiration from like the way political candidates tell a story.
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't really get involved in politics, to be honest with you. I see what's going on in the world and all that stuff. But what I noticed from political campaigns from left or right, conservative or liberal, is storytelling is at the forefront and ground game is a big one. So what I realized is when we're building a business, you know, if you want to win, you can't just win today by building a digital presence. It's important. You need it because people are on their phones. You actually need to have a physical game. And that, what I mean by that is showing up, having people connecting physically to your product. And it might not be as many people, by the way, when you have a one-on-one interaction on the street, like we just saw someone buying Midday Squares, you witnessed me in action, connect with that person at a deeper, for 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes that it was a hug, it was a shake hand, it was thank you, it was get to know them a little bit, but it made a feeling. It connected. That person that stopped us on the street, she stopped us and she was like, she was fired up. She was energized. That's ground game. I taught a class before this at UCAM, and I shared Midday Square as a story, but I also talked about authenticity, storytelling to a group of 50 students. 50 minutes seem like a lot, but if I turn 10 of those people into super fans, or I turn 25 of those people into super fans, they're going to acquire Midday Square customers forever, thousands over time. And doing podcasts, showing up in person and having the physical conversation. Again, this is part of a ground game. Yes, it's digital because it goes up, but there's a real conversation here. I'm making you closer to us and you're making yourself closer to me. And I believe that every business needs to do the physical, and it takes time, to go do speaking gigs, to go on the radio, to go on TV, to go, meet people. I host coffee meetups. You know about this. That's where we hung out. I had a coffee meetup with, first time 40 people, then the second time 65. Hopefully the next time will be 80 to 100. It's not a business. It's not for me to grow my business. But guess what? I show up there. I meet with 80 different folks. We each share our stories to each other. We connect. Guess what? If I connect you and you know that I have a company called Midday Squares and it's a chocolate bar and you never tried it and then you met me and we had a great interaction. You're going to go when you go to when you go to Pravigo or you go to Metro next week and you see the Midday Square, you're going to be like, I'm going to buy it. I like Jake. I just connected with him physically. He's epic. I want to support him. You need to have that. And you're not going to win by staying in your house or your office and just content creation. You need the hybrid. And, whatever you want to learn from politics, you want to learn from some of the greatest storytelling companies in the world, they all do physical and they all do digital. So what I would say is get off your ass, show up. I always travel. Whenever I have a meeting, they always ask, do you want to come on Zoom or in person? I always say this. I say, I'm getting on a plane and I'm coming to you. Why? Because number one, it shows respect. It shows that you want to win here. So when I go up to my retail partners, I could do the deck on the presentation on a Zoom call. That's boring. When I show up physically, serendipity happens. Something will happen. Maybe there's an energy we feel. There's a magnetic pull. There's somebody else in the room. We start talking. Again, you never know. So I show up and then I set up as many meetings as I can in that city to meet as many people that I don't have an agenda with. It could be someone in plumbing again. It could be someone in media. It could be someone in XYZ. You never know, but you only will know if you physically show up. Sam Walton built Walmart, one of the greatest retailers of our time. There's a lot of great retailers, but that's one of them. He showed up store to store. He went to go meet his staff. He went to go show up to meet his customers, see them. He bought a small plane at the time, like a propeller plane, and he would go nonstop. And if you're going to build a business today, get off your ass and go meet people in person. We are craving human connection more than ever. Now's the time.
I think the ground game is so underrated, and telling your story in person is like how you're truly going to engage and, like you said before, make friends and fans instead of just customers.
Yeah, because you know what it is, man? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Too many businesses are focused on ROI, which I understand they need it. You need to have capital come through your business. You need to have success. If you just were running for fun and nothing was happening, the business would shut. Now, here's the thing. When you're focused on transaction, people feel it. They feel you're selling to them. You're trying to get something. It's uncomfortable. But when you're making a friend, guess what a friend does? When you're friends with someone, they want to help. They'll do you a favor here and there. They'll help you during hard times. Same thing goes with the idea of making friends as a customer instead. Because when we make a friend, they're not just buying Midday Squares. They're going home. They're buying this. They're buying 3-4 bars, and they're saying to their family, "I love this company so much. You got to try it. You don't understand. They had this story that just came out. It was wild. They're doing the work that we dream of. The word to mouth, the in-person connection that they're doing, and even the online selling that they're doing for us is something that you don't have by just having a customer. You want the people that are evangelical. You want friends. And it takes time to build friends. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to show up, you got to water the plants, and you got to care. You got to really care. You can't be inauthentic. You got to actually say, you know what? I like you. Let's go for coffee. Let's have fun. Let's connect. And if I talk to you in 6 months, like it shouldn't be like, hey, I need something from you. No, it's like, let's flow. And we as humans have wanted that forever. So give it to people.
The world's craving for that authenticity. We live in a very digital world, and a lot of the connections you have are very surface level. So I think, your role as Chief Rainmaker, I want to talk a
Make
little bit more
friends.
about, your whole job is to make friends.
My only job is that. So I'm almost independent of Midday Squares. Yes, I'm a co-founder the company, and I still work under the company. But at the end of the day, my job is to make as many friends as I can for this business to then eventually bring them into the network down the line, whenever that happens. So, whenever we're raising money, I've met with tons of private equity groups, tons of venture capital groups, tons of investors without asking them for a thing, literally becoming friends. But when the time comes, guess what? They're going to pick up the call and answer it when I call and say, hey guys, we're looking for capital. Are you guys interested? And if not, all good. We're still friends, but let me know. That's how we raised money originally. That's how we've gotten media. That's how we've gotten new team members. That's how we've gotten a lot of our stuff. You make friends and then you do business, because when you do that, there's an automatic subconscious bias in your favor. And when my team has a problem with a retailer, I'll ease it out, because guess what? If you're a friend, they're being a little more lenient, and they want you to figure it out. Now, it's not an easy job, though. I think people forget it's fun to make friends and speak and have fun and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I got to fly 100 flights a year. I gotta maintain and keep, a lot of energy to people. It's not easy, and I've burnt out from it, but I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to it because at the end of the day, I just want to be around winners. That's what I've learned in life. If you're around winners, people that are ambitious, they're curious, and I mean winning doesn't have to do with financial success. Winning has to be with people that just have an energy to them. Then you win. You win. You surround yourself with good people, you win.
People buy from people they like and trust.
Yep.
And it's so important. But starting out, your role was CMO. Can you tell a little bit about that transition
That
from
was an
CMO
ego
to?
thing, though. I always tell people that was an ego thing. I co-founded the business, and I thought because I owned a big part of the company, I had to have an executive level role, and I felt that oh, I need a marketing officer, especially my co-founders or co-CEOs. And when I did it, I was a horrible manager, man. I failed miserably in management, and I was trying to stay in it because I was like, I gotta get this role. I gotta make it work. I'm an owner, and I was trying to be tough, and I was like really failing. Like people were quitting. It was a miserable experience, and I was bad at it. So I was playing to my weakness rather than my strength. And then finally, after 8, 9 months of therapy and hard conversations, I realized that I got to step down from this role. I got to be managed, and that's when I developed the rainmaker role, because my whole life I was building community. I was making friends. And what if I just let go of this whole idea of having to be a manager or executive, blah, 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 and just start to just do making friends 24/7 and do whatever that takes around that. And I start to feel an immense amount of freedom, and I start to win again. I start to feel like I was winning. And I always say to people, play to your strengths, hire other people that could build for your weakness, or partner with someone that could do your weakness.
Looking ahead, Jake, what does the future of Midday Square's marketing strategy look like as you continue to grow and scale to being a $100 million business?
Yeah, so it's a very good time to ask that question. So we're kind of like figuring it out right now. The founder story is great to get your stuff started, build a deeper emotional connection. But now we need Midday Squares to stand on its feet. We need it to represent something other than the three of us. And we're working on how we tell that story from where we are now to over 100 million over $100 million business. And yeah, it's hard. We don't know the answer, but I could tell you this. I could tell you that we want it to represent boldness, we're taking risks, and being unapologetic. And if we could do that, then I believe we could win, because we're different than everyone else. Everyone else is representing to products or features. Listen, we're still going to be in the story a lot, but it's not going to just be our face. It's not going to be reliant on us, because if it's reliant on us, then what happens if God forbid something bad happens? You know, the business has to be able to sustain itself from a growth and attention grabbing perspective. If it can't, then what have we actually built? You know, you need to, the biggest thing that made me happy during Leslie's sabbatical, my sister's sabbatical that she took time off, was obviously her taking recharge is a huge step for her and a huge leadership step. Um, and she's doing great, by the way. But the key to it was, our co-CEO, she stepped aside. The company's running really well. That goes to show that it doesn't rely on us, and that's really important. Um, we want this company to be able to rely without us. We are just added value to the company. I think that that's the big thing. And yeah, I don't know what the marketing strategy is for it, but I know that it's going to still have two really important components for the rest of our lives, probably perpetually, is a storytelling component and authenticity, or whatever that authenticity of the brand is.
And bringing that back to our audience, what would your advice be to like a creator out there, or even like a corporate brand that's scared of being vulnerable and telling their story? What would your advice be to someone out there who thinks like, I don't have an interesting story to tell?
Well, here's the thing is, if you don't do it over time, it's going to have real consequences. People will veer off from your brand. Unless you have the most innovative product in the world that is so patent disruptive that no one can do it, but that's not the case. The truth is you don't have to share therapy sessions like Midday Squares does. You don't have to share, raising capital, what that looks like, the vulnerable moments of that. You just need to find out what's authentic to the brand. Even if it's a 100-year-old business, there's an authenticity there, and just share that. Share whatever that is. Find it. But when you're too regulated, or you're too, I say, buttoned up, you're going to lose fans really quickly, and they'll switch. And times are changing. Humans want connectivity. Give it to them. You have the ability to do it. You have the capital to figure it out. You need to just do it. And the risk, yeah, somebody might be turned off. People might be turned off. But at the end of the day, I believe if you don't do it, you'll lose more over time than losing it from the people you might turn off at the beginning.
And why are you so bullish on LinkedIn?
I love that. I have no association with LinkedIn, by the way. I'm just a user of the platform. I think LinkedIn's in its really, really interesting phase because it's a platform where people are intentional.
Yeah.
So other social media platforms, people are scrolling with no intention. Like, it's just, they're looking for like dopamine to a certain extent. With LinkedIn, it's more of a intentional business platform, meaning that you're actually paying more attention to the content that's up there. And as of the last, 10 years of LinkedIn, or however it's been long, it's been all like job postings and like statistics or things like that. Now it's going through this interesting phase where it wants to get into storytelling. It wants to promote storytelling within business, within the idea of corporate culture. And now's the time. If you're going to get on LinkedIn, get on now, share a story. It's exploding. It's allowing people to go viral like the early days of TikTok. And what it's doing is, if you put videos between like 30 seconds to 2 minutes that are business, but also lifestyle, yeah, sharing a story, you're going to blow up. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It's just going to go. And this is a warning sign. Don't miss this opportunity. It's a unique opportunity to get people. And by the way, the most powerful decision makers are on that platform intentionally. You have salespeople, you have entrepreneurs, you have executives, you have investors, you have media folks, you have new team members you can get. It's literally a playground for opportunities. So get on LinkedIn. Who cares what people think? Share your story, because if they don't like you, then they're going to eventually not like you sometime, one another. Let them not like you now. But you have a chance to go viral at a level that I've never seen before.
Jake, last question for you. What gets you fired up, and what's your message for the world?
What gets me fired up is knowing that I'm taking a risk in life. And the risk is being myself, which is actually the least risky thing. It sounds so ironic, but it's actually the least risky thing. And ever since I realized that being myself is my greatest superpower, that's when I felt like I start to win. And I'm not won the game of life, but I'm on the path. I think I'm on the path, and it could take forever. It's a lifelong path. But being yourself is your greatest superpower. So once you know that, start leaning into it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's weird, even if it feels like you're going to lose it all. Because at the end of the day, you will figure it out, and you playing to your strength and you being you is going to make you so different than everyone else in the world that eventually something's going to click. Some door's going to open that makes sense. And then block out the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. People are going to tell you to be a certain way. They're going to, even if they love you, they're going to tell you, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't take the risks. You got to block that out. If you listen to all the noise, you'll never get anything done. So trust that gut of yours. It's powerful. It knows something that you and I don't consciously know. So yeah, be yourself unapologetically and block out the noise. And I guarantee you that will give you your best chance at potentially winning the game of life.
Jake, there's so many fucking incredible lessons that you've shared on this podcast, and I'm very grateful for having this conversation with you. I've learned an incredible amount. Just last off, where can people find more about Jake Karls and Midday Squares?
So definitely follow Midday Squares on all socials, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We definitely tell a fun story. Add me on LinkedIn personally if you ever want to connect. Jake Karls. Message me, send me messages. I'm happy to engage. I'm in Montreal, but I travel a lot all over. Happy to connect in person. And then last but not least, if you want to find Midday Squares products, we're available in the refrigerated section of Walmart Canada, Target US, Whole Foods US, Metro, Sobeys, all over, and on our website as well. Starbucks Canada as well, obviously. And yeah, definitely when you're looking at it, when you're looking at the Midday Square, when you see it next, just know that we're a friend of yours. Woo!
Let's go.
How was it?
That was
Let's take
so
it.
bad.
It was a powerful one, no?
That was so
Can you take a picture?
You did such a good job.
Yeah, you crushed it. Great,
Yeah.
great.